Vajrayana Buddhism at a glance. Vajrayana Buddhism is known by several names: Thunderbolt Vehicle, Diamond Vehicle, Esoteric Buddhism, Tibetan Buddhism, and Tantric Buddhism. It is the latest of the three major forms of Buddhism to have developed along with the Theravada and the Mahayana schools. It is generally accepted that Vajrayana Buddhism emerged out of the Mahayana in India sometime in the 6th to 7th centuries. It quickly spread out of India and became established in the several parts of the Buddhist world, particularly in Tibet, where it became the dominant form of Buddhism. In fact, Vajrayana is often referred to simply as Tibetan Buddhism. From Tibet, Vajrayana Buddhism spread to Mongolia and then Manchuria. Tantric Buddhism spread to Mongolia by way of the Mongolian Empire. Buddhism had become the state religion in Tibet. As Mongols conquered Tibet, they thought these people are holy, and they converted to Buddhism. The Manchu picked up the Tibetan style of Buddhism from the Mongols, so it's a domino effect across the Central Asia. The scriptural foundations of the Vajrayana include both the Theravada canon and the major Mahayana Buddhist texts. The earliest explicitly Vajrayana texts are the various tantras that began to be composed in the 7th century. There were several kings that were significant to the beginnings of Vajrayana Buddhism. The reigning king in Tibet during the 5th century was King Taturi Nyansen. A basket of Buddhist scriptures arrived in Tibet during his time, yet they were not translated into Tibetan until King Songtsen Gampo reigned, which was between 609 and 650 CE. The most significant event in the history of Tibetan Buddhism occurred in 641, when King Songtsen Gampo unified Tibet and took two Buddhist wives, Princess Wencheng from China and Princess Brakuti Devi from Nepal. Before long, King Gampo made Buddhism the state religion and established a network of 108 Buddhist temples across the region. Conflict with the former national religion, Bon, however, would continue for centuries. The central event in the history of Vajrayana Buddhism history, however, was during the reign of King Trisong Tenzin in 774. The king invited the assistance of Padmasambhava. It was Padmasambhava, more commonly known in the region as Guru Rinpoche, who merged Tantric Buddhism with the local Bon religion to form what we now recognize as Tibetan Buddhism. In addition to writing a number of important scriptures, Padmasambhava established the Nyingma school from which all schools of Tibetan Buddhism are derived. It is said that Padmasambhava overpowered a demoness when he arrived in Tibet. It is claimed that he staked her to the ground with his tantric magical powers. To this day, these are the pilgrimage sites where the original ogress, who spans the Tibetan people through union with a monkey, is defeated by this Buddhist master. Here, we can see Buddhism civilizing the culture and taming the local gods and goddesses. Padmasambhava has a consort named Yeshi Tsogyo. There is an image of the two of them engaged in sexual union, which is said to have occurred in the sky for 14 days. In addition to the Nyingma school, there are three more principal schools within modern Vajrayana Buddhism. Besides being the oldest Tibetan Buddhist school, Nyingma is the second largest after Gelug. The Nyingma school is based primarily on the teachings of Padmasambhava, who is revered by the Nyingma school as the second Buddha. It also makes wide use of the shamanistic practices and local divinities borrowed from the indigenous pre-Buddhist Bon religion. Nyingma monks are not generally required to be celibate. The Kagyupa, or oral transmission school, is the third largest school. Its teachings were brought to Tibet by Marpa the translator, an 11th century Tibetan householder who traveled to India to study under the master yogin Naropa and gather Buddhist scriptures. The smallest of the four schools is Sakyapa. The Sakyapa school had great political influence in the 13th and 14th centuries. The Gelugpa school, or School of Virtuous, also called the Yellow Hats, is the youngest of the schools. It is also the largest and most important. It was founded in the late 14th century by Tsongkhapa, who enforced strict monastic discipline, restored celibacy, and the prohibition of alcohol and meat, established a higher standard of learning for monks, and while continuing to respect the Vajrayana tradition of esotericism that was prevalent in Tibet, allowed tantric and magical rites only in moderation. Practices are centered on achieving concentration through meditation and arousing the bodhisattva within. The head of the Gelugpa school is the Dalai Lama. The current and 14th Dalai Lama is His Holiness Tenzin Gyatso. He is the 14th because it's the 14th time they believe that he has manifested his great consciousness as the bodhisattva of compassion in the world to guide the Tibetan people. In order to find the 14th Dalai Lama, the 13th one said, "Look for me in Mongolia." And so they did. But also, the state oracle of Tibet, wearing a hat that was lead of many 100 pounds, so that when he absorbs the power of 5 cosmic Buddhas, he doesn't explode. He predicts the birthplace of the next Dalai Lama. Vajrayana Buddhism's major advantage is that it offers an accelerated path to enlightenment. The followers of this path of enlightenment also call it the short path, as it promises enlightenment in a lifetime as opposed to other schools of Buddhism that say that nirvana is possible in many lifetimes. This is achieved through the use of Tantra techniques, which are practical aids to spiritual development, and esoteric transmission. Vajrayana Buddhists do not claim that Theravada or Mahayana practices are in any way invalid, only that they represent slower paths. Vajrayana Buddhism depends on many tantric techniques in order to achieve their swift journey to enlightenment. The most important aspect of the tantric path is to use the result as the path, which means that rather than placing full enlightenment as a goal far away in the future, one tries to identify with the enlightened body, speech, and mind of a Buddha. The Buddha form which one can best relate to is called the Yidam. In order to achieve this self-identification with a Buddha form, much symbolism and visualization is used in Buddhist tantric techniques. Mantras are the repetition of special ritual phrases. Mantra is for chanting. Focus the microcosmic aspect of reality with our voices resonating, saying the mantras. Om Parimani Hum is perhaps the most famous in Tibet. Various yoga techniques are used while incorporating breath control, yantra, and the use of special hand positions, mudras. Mandalas are visual aids used in tantric practice. The mandalas itself shapes your consciousness just by looking at it, tantric Buddhists believe. Symbolic tools and musical instruments are also incorporated into their tantric practice. Examples of musical instruments are the bell, ghanta, and the hand drum, damaru. The other notable quality of Vajrayana Buddhism is its esoteric quality. In this context, esoteric means that the transmission of certain accelerating factors only occurs directly from teacher to student during the initiation and cannot be simply learned from a book. Many techniques are also commonly said to be secret, but some Vajrayana teachers have responded that the secrecy itself is not important, but only a side effect of the reality that the techniques have no validity outside the teacher-student lineage. Although sex appears within Vajrayana Buddhism, it is intended to be principally symbolic. Although there is also an aspect of transforming one's sexual energy into a blissful consciousness, which can then be directed towards achieving wisdom and enlightenment through the act of sexual intercourse. However, it cannot be stressed enough that this has very little to do with having sex in the normal sense. Instead, it's about controlling one's sexual energy. The central concept of the Vajrayana practice is the two truths doctrine, and it is also the basis for its methods. Conventional and ultimate truths are the two truths. Conventional truth is the truth of consensus reality. common sense notions of what does and does not exist. Ultimate truth is reality as viewed by an awakened or enlightened mind. In the Vajrayana, the path of the fruit is taken, whereby the practitioner takes inherent Buddha nature as the means of practice. The premise is that since we inherently have an enlightened mind, practicing seeing the world in terms of ultimate truth can help us to attain our full Buddha nature. The purpose of all the tantric techniques practiced by the Vajrayana Buddhists is to experience ultimate truth.